Hello! Yes, it is I, the conspicuous Moo. And back again with, well, just a little bit of fun, really. Little bit of design inside of our heads. And, as you might have noticed recently, they don't seem to be quite sure when they want to release Shadowlands anymore. And, yes, from personal opinion, this is a fabulous change because it really didn't look like it was going to be ready, and BFA 2 would pretty much have sunk the franchise. So, well done Blizzard for making a very, very difficult choice. And now that you do have some more time, I thought, we might just go over a couple of our legendaries, the general legendaries and the actual Brewmaster specific ones, and make them a little bit better than they currently are. So, let's get cracking. First of all, let's talk about Vitsak. Yes, that secret general purpose legendary for everyone, and as you can see from, this is just one sample. This is one log, but this happens on almost all of the logs, so for Brewmasters anyway. Yeah, there's absolutely no way that Vitality Sacrifice is going to be live like this. I mean, you can't be top. It's not always top on both sides. Sometimes it's top 4, but it's still really, really, really good. So yes, I mean, if you have a chance to try it on beta, now is the time, because I don't think it's going to be around for much longer. Yeah, obviously it's doing a lot of good brew work at the moment in its current form. So let's start with the legendaries in the general category for monks, which are actually quite good and don't actually need any changes at all, in my personal opinion. Fatal Touch. Now, I love having Touch of Death back. It is an awful lot of fun just going, boop, bye-bye. So anything that reduces it by 60 seconds, so now it's a 2-minute cooldown if you take the Fatal Touch, is really, really good. And the other part of Touch of Death for Brewmasters anyway is that it also clears 200% worth of damage that you do from Touch of Death is cleared off your stagger as well. So that's just a tiny thing, but it's another good one, and you can do additional stagger clearing by just going around deleting mobs. So yeah, I love it. It's not a first or even a second choice, but down the line, if we get more opportunities to add more legendary powers, then Fatal Touch is definitely in with a shout. Escape from Reality is one of the more recent ones that they've added. Now, I'm not a PvPer at all. I'm dreadful at it. I mean, I try, but it's not a good look. But yeah, I mean, I can see from just from a basic, very bad PvPer's perspective that this is quite a good ability. The ability to port around corners and then do a bit of Vivify spam to get yourself back up to full before re-engaging. That would be quite a good choice, I would think, for a PvPer. But if you're an actual PvPer who knows what they're talking about, please, by all means, let me know how wrong I am on this one. Now let's move on to the ones which aren't quite so good. Invoker's Delight. At the moment, you gain 12% haste for 15 seconds after summoning your Celestial. Celestial's on a 3-minute cooldown. We have Angry Dave, of course, invoke Nizal. And the haste, straight off the bat, is a major problem. I mean, it's not likely, while Angry Dave is showing up, that you're going to need 12% haste in any case. Haste is still our worst stat, so I don't see anyone going for haste-heavy builds. And I don't see anyone justifying why you should stack haste in any way, shape or form. So, additional haste it reduces the cooldown on a couple of abilities, but really at the end of the day, it's not very interesting to us. So, suggestion-wise, because this is a general, so you can't just do it for Brewmaster only, try Versatility, because that actually is useful in some way for all 3 specs, unlike haste. And at the moment, invoking Nizal is a rather underwhelming event. It doesn't do an awful lot of damage, and unless you're getting to really high stagger levels, it's not doing an awful lot of staggering damage and doing the stomp. So, yeah, double its output, and then we can talk. But until then, yeah, I mean, I don't really see any reason why anyone would take this right now. Roll out. This is almost a meme. Yeah. I mean, I kind of understand, you know, they need them to be good for all monk specs, but Jesus, an extra roll. You know, if you're, and it's not been that long since Legion, so we know what Legendaries look and feel like already. If you're a monk, and you know, getting an additional roll is just about the most underwhelming thing you could possibly imagine. And it's difficult to change this up to make it more interesting. My suggestion is that you can make it a little fruitier, depending on which of the talents you choose in that row. So for celerity, you know, you could roll through people and knock them over. So it's like a pseudo interrupt. With Chi Torpedo, we can bring back the damage and heal component because that was so much fun. And with Tiger's Lust, it can clear all CC effects on the targeted player, so that could be quite useful in PvE and PvP content. So you know, that could be an option for PvPers as well. So that makes it more interesting. You've got 3 additional options now off the 1 legendary, instead of just 1 additional roll and. Now let's move on to the Brewmaster legendaries. Now Storm Stout's Last Keg is still beautiful, and it's still top, and it's still most likely the one you'll want to be getting. I believe the pattern drops in Sanguine Depths dungeon off the last boss. But yeah, I mean, double keg and, you know, 30% increased damage to Keg Smash, particularly also now with the Keg Smash buff. Like the damage buff, this is going to be even more insane, so there's even more reason to take Storm Stout's Last Keg. So definitely that one. The second one that I'm considering at the moment is Charred Passions. It's nowhere near as inspiring as Storm Stout's Last Keg is, but you know, it does do a little additional damage. Blackout Kick will do about 500 damage by itself, so doing an additional 30% of that as fire is about another 150 damage. And Spinning Crane Kick, of course, it doesn't do that much damage per tick, but you know, when you add them all up, it's pretty decent as well. And the ability to refresh Breath of Fire is very nice as well. That'll just be the dot, it won't be the initial application, obviously. But you know, it could be even more potent if they actually get around to buffing Breath of Fire to a point where it's more than 5%. So when's that happening? Ugh, mighty poor. Yes, it is mighty poor of Blizzard to, you know, basically just swap out Iron Skin Brew, put Celestial Brew in, and think that will work. Because, you know, if you look at it, you know, it increases your armor by 15% for 7 seconds. Now that makes sense if you're using Iron Skin Brew, which we don't have anymore. But if you've got Celestial Brew up, you've already got a massive shield that's already absorbing all of the damage that's coming in. So why would you have that? I just don't understand it at all. You know, you don't need 15% additional armor while the shield is up. And you know, the Purifying Brew component, yeah, sure, that's relatively useful, but yeah, wow. You know, they really haven't thought that through, or they just have no idea how Brewmasters work or how the abilities they've introduced work. And anyway, this is the last thing I would ever take at the moment. My proposal would be to make it appallingly OP by removing the armor component and the Celestial Brew bit altogether. Add 10% to the Purifying Brew effect, so it would be a 60% clearance of stagger, and keep the 15% chance to not consume a charge. So if you're running into a lot of physical heavy fights, all of a sudden, you know, putting Mighty Pour on makes a lot of sense because you can purify more and probably more frequently. And you'll be getting additional purified chi stacks as well, so all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more appealing than its current incarnation. Yes, Xiaohao's might. You think the Emperor would be a little bit more mightier than this, but yeah, at the moment a 10% chance to deal 300% of normal damage and reduce the remaining cooldowns of your brews by an additional second is just not competing with the other legendary abilities. Now, this is the Facepalm artifact from Legion. For the new era, but it's like rank 1 of 3 in the Legion artifact tree originally, and you could get this up to I think 70% in Legion, which made it very potent because you had a really good chance of doing some excellent single target damage. With Tiger Palm, which, you know, as we've gone over before, is fairly underwhelming, and it's a filler and it doesn't do a lot of damage, and you know, it's not that great. this, I'm going to make these suggestions for people who do like a more procky rotation. I'm not a fan of it myself, but I think if you raise the proc chance to at least 50%, then you've got yourself a far more interesting target palm already. It's more impactful, preferably higher, but you know, if you want to keep it at 50%, that's fine. And you know, give it a chance to grant a free spinning crane kick as well for additional damage. Spinning crane kick costs the same as tiger palm at the moment, 25 energy. So you know, being able to weave in additional spinning crane kicks, especially on, you know, target packs and stuff, would be rather helpful. And it does mean that, you know, tiger palm does have a little bit more interesting interaction with the rest of the rotation as well. So if you're into that sort of thing, that's my suggestion as to how they could improve it. Okay, so those are my suggestions that I'm putting out there. Now that we've got some additional time to improve the legendaries a little bit, you know, if you've got any ideas, by all means, share them in the comments. And you know, if they're cracking ideas, I'll put them on another video and I'll give you full credit for them. And but yeah, you know, I just thought we'd have a look at the legendary powers. There's plenty of other things in the Brewmaster toolkit at the moment that do need a little bit of work. So let's take advantage of that, and you know, make Brewmaster awesome and interesting. And we can definitely do that through the legendary powers. So I will leave it at that for now. Hope you're all travelling well in these times, and you know, if you see a Blizzard employee, give them a hug. They're working really hard. I am the conspicuous Moo, and I bid you adieu.